Man, did y'all get nostalgic listening to that intro or what? It's just, brings back so many memories of this game. Hey guys, AJ here. Today we're going to be talking about The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, the game that quite literally changed the industry forever, in my opinion. Just, this is a phenomenal game, game of a lifetime, game of a generation that was just the first sign of many great things to come, especially with the Nintendo Switch system, and for more innovation coming to more open world games. I understand open world games existed way before Breath of the Wild, but this is what kind of set the quote-unquote trend of a lot more open world games coming out, or games focusing on their open world elements, and I believe The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild at that time is the best open world game ever released. I think Tears of the Kingdom beats it. I know it's kind of a controversial thing. Is Tears of the Kingdom or Breath of the Wild better? We'll talk about that later. I think Tears of the Kingdom beats it, but just for like nostalgia's sake and everything, Breath of the Wild is just such a perfect game that I'm still amazed they got this to run on the Switch, let alone like even Tears of the Kingdom, that they got that to run on the Switch, which is basically a microwave at this point. Here's to hoping that the next console has more power. Anyway, sorry, a little bit of a derail already, like not even 2 minutes into the video. I'm just going to point out some of Breath of the Wild's greatest strengths today and just my appreciation for the game and the story with the game overall. So, let me know if you like this. Appreciate you for watching. Now, let's just get on to the video. So I grew up playing The Legend of Zelda. Ocarina of Time was actually the first game I ever beat by myself, like finished the whole thing back on my dad's Nintendo 64. I got Majora's Mask many years later. Gosh, that game is terrifying. I'm thankful I didn't. Ocarina of Time was already scary enough. Like, at that young age, I did not need to have Majora's Mask and all the terrifying things there at that young of an age. Played Skyward Sword. I've also played, Link's Awakening. Breath of the Wild, I beat twice, and on regular, once on Master Mode. Tears of the Kingdom I've played through once. I think I'm going to start another playthrough here again soon. I just don't like that there's only one save file per Switch. But anyway, I've played my fair share of Zelda. Now, in terms of Zelda games, I think Ocarina of Time is still the better in terms of like just Zelda feel, dungeon crawl, and everything, but Breath of the Wild is literally the perfect open world game, which, controversial to say, I much prefer open world games. I love open world games. That's my jam, and Breath of the Wild really just like created that love and appreciation for this game. I remember back, what year did this game release? 2016, 2017, something like that. I'll put a little thing up on the screen that says when it was. Saving up, I was working for some family friends at their store, making $4.25 an hour, saving up for a Nintendo Switch system to buy one off Craigslist that was maybe stolen. I don't know. It's a long story, but saved up, got my Switch, got Breath of the Wild like a week after everything launched, and I just played the crap out of that game. I was only, 2016, I had 14, 15 at the time, so just, gosh, this game is fantastic, and it's what made me love the Zelda franchise especially even more, because as very different as this game is from all Zeldas that came before, there's still that feel constantly throughout, like Hyrule, Link, Zelda, Ganon, it's just simple things like that. That's in every Zelda game, but the way they implement it in this game it really feels like the next step forward for the franchise. There's a few steps back that we'll talk about, but this open world formula here feels like the next way, the direction that the franchise is going and was going to head, which ended up being true with Tears of the Kingdom, and then statements now saying that they're going to stick with the open world, which is fine as long as they improve the dungeons. I'm not going to get into that now, but this game was just super special to me, and this is why I'm just going to have so much fun talking about it. So, what I believe Breath of the Wild's greatest strength to be is just how rewarding the open world is. I've played many games before that are like quote-unquote open world. You know, you have your story segments, and then there's the open world segments, and the open world is just like, okay, you can grab these materials or do these side quests if you want, but the open world area is kind of just like a hub, you know, in between one mission zone and the other mission zone. Breath of the Wild took exploration to the next level, especially where, so, getting into it, main point, greatest strength is that everything is rewarding that you do, and that helps the open world aspect so much, and everything builds off each other. So, exploring, right? That means that you find new dungeons, which you can increase your hearts for better combat, for better weapons to beat bosses, right? If you want to just go and fight the whole time, you're going to have a hard time doing that because you haven't explored to collect resources for food and stuff like that to regenerate your health. If you just want to explore, you're never going to get any combat done. You have to go do some fighting. Every mechanic in this game works into itself so well, just how beautifully blended the open world and combat aspects of this game are is what makes everything feel so rewarding. There have been many games before where you can just explore, and if you find a little something or whatever, I don't know, like a golden poop turd, which you do actually find in this game, but anyway, you just find a golden poop turd, and it's like, okay, does this do anything for me? No, you just collect it if you want to reach 100%, and that's like, okay, that's lame. But then these golden poop turds in this game is the Korok seeds, you know, which are actually rewarding because it lets you increase your weapon stash, so except for when you collect all of them. It's a long story. Anyway, so yeah, food, you go collect food because it helps you out. In combat, you fight monsters because it helps you fight the bosses, which you also have to explore to do that. And how are you going to know where you're going if you don't explore to fill out your map? It's just, all the different mechanics behind this game are blended so well, and it just makes the gameplay loop so incredibly fun. This game is also rough, especially starting out. It is a tough game with only 3 hearts at the beginning. Most monsters will take out like a third of that in a single hit, which is usually normal for Zelda games. Like, I remember Ocarina of Time, you start with only 3, and like getting hit by something was brutal. This is especially so in Breath of the Wild, where like everything can kill you. You jump off a mountain a little bit too high, dead. Run out of stamina in the water, dead. Hold a metal weapon up when it's thunderstorming outside, dead. Everything will kill you, and it makes the beginning a lot more difficult than the late game, which just makes it so much more fun too, because it really bends into that sort of survival aspect. The difficulty does, like, taper off towards the end, which, I mean, is also just kind of a staple for most Zelda games if you start doing a lot of side quests and stuff, which, especially for Breath of the Wild, is true for me, doing a lot of the side stuff, you know, going to as many dungeons as possible, getting as much hearts. It can make the final boss fight and stuff a little underwhelming, which is fine. I think, especially open world survival games, becoming like completely overpowered at the end of it is fun. That's part of the process for me. It's like playing Minecraft, you know, and starting out with nothing, and then reaching the point right now where you've got your full netherite armor with protection for mending, all of the best enchantments, and the sword that can like two-shot basically anything. That's fun. That's part of the gameplay loop, and Breath of the Wild really blends into that, for better or for worse. In my opinion, for better, because, yes, seeing like where you started off being so weak, struggling against like 2 little red bokoblins, being able to like decimate a herd. Is a group of bokoblins called a herd? I don't know. Anyway, I'm gonna call them a herd, like a herd of the white ones, or if you're on master mode, the gold ones and stuff, just because of learning the gameplay loop, how your armor works, what food you need to eat. It just makes all the aspects of the game so rewarding. So we've talked about the combat and exploring quite a bit. I want to talk about another one of the game's great strengths, in my opinion, which a lot of people might disagree, is the soundtrack. A lot of people don't like it just because of how like quiet and muted it is kind of in the background, which I think is fine. I feel like Hyrule Field's Day, you know, from Ocarina of Time might get a little old listening to that the entire time while you're exploring the open world, something more subtle and in the background is fine by me, and I think it definitely helps the experience overall. But no, what I want to talk about, the strength of the soundtrack, is in the combat music, because I'm gonna play some of my favorite tracks right now, which is the combat tracks, just because it gives you the feeling of actually being in that scenario. So we all know the Guardian theme song. I guess this would be like a trigger warning or something like that, because people are gonna have PTSD from hearing this, but here it is. Gosh, that track is terrifying. So then we also got the Stone Talus battle song, which just... Here, just listen to it for a second here. Okay, it sounds like you're fighting a rock. Like, if I were to fight a rock, that is exactly what the sound would be like, and I really appreciate that. Also, with the Molduga theme song here, it's just so intense and kind of like chase-y music. You know, it gives like a big chase scene from a movie vibes and stuff like that. The combat music is absolutely fantastic. And, you know, the final boss fight with Ganon at the very end. I mean, I guess spoilers for this game. I mean, it's been out for like, what, 7 years now, I guess that is? So, anyway, let me just play the final boss fight track for just a little bit here. So yeah, gosh, it's absolutely beautiful. I feel like the combat soundtracks are so amazing for this game, and another one of the greatest strengths. I've been playing some of the more quiet, like Town and Korok Forest themes and stuff like that in the background of this, because it does help for videos and stuff, just sort of the quiet, chill vibes, but when the music needs to be intense, it's not afraid to be, which I really appreciate. Another great strength of this game is the art style. I love the way this game looks. Honestly, might be my favorite art style out of all the Legend of Zelda games. It's perfect. Just the sort of, not super cartoony, but a lot like a painting, you know, kind of what Arcane, if you've seen that Arcane Netflix League of Legends show. Long story short. Anyway, very similar to that in the way it presents itself, which I think is perfect, because I'm just going to come right out and say it. I think most realistic looking open world games are so ugly. Like, it's very hard to capture realism already. So if you try to capture realism in your game, that's difficult as it is, but to make like a whole huge world that you have to make look realistic is a near impossible task, especially just if you're going for realism, just the slight mistakes, you know, that come with having an open world game where you have to spread the textures along out. Maybe something doesn't look as good in one area because, like, the majority of people aren't ever going to go there, or it's something off in the distance. If you're going for realism, it really makes it stand out more. I'm going to make a lot of people upset with this statement. I think Horizon Zero Dawn, I played it on my computer, which is like a big, hefty computer. I can run pretty much anything, and I thought that game just looked really ugly. The gameplay was really fun, but the reason that it went for, I don't know if I played the Steam version, I don't know if that has anything to do with it, and I had like max graphics settings on. Anyway, but just the world, it tried to make itself realistic, and it just made all the small tiny errors stand out so much that are going to exist, because there's no such thing as a perfect game. But Breath of the Wild doesn't try to be realistic, you know, kind of that painting, like a canvas art style. It just really blends with the open world, because you don't have to nitpick everything or try to... Your brain accepts that, okay, this is what the world looks like, because this is the Zelda world, instead of it being like, oh, so this is supposed to be realistic, but why is that tree floating off in the distance? Cough, cough, Bethesda. I don't know. Anyway, I love the art style for this game. Tears of the Kingdom only improves on the art style. Those look really similar, which is fine by me. But if you're making an open world game, an art style is the way to go, not realism. I'm tired of modern games going for realism just for anything overall. I mean, unless you're making a game that needs realism, you know, like Ready or Not, Rainbow Six Siege, stuff like that, like realistic shooter games. If you can use a, like, quote-unquote cartoony art style, it doesn't make it childish. Again, I'm gonna bring up Arcane. That is very much like a teenager adult show, and it's animated, not made for kids. Just go for an art style, not realism. The last thing I feel like I need to touch on before we get into some of the minor criticisms and stuff is the story, which I actually appreciate Breath of the Wild story. I understand a lot of people don't like it. It's really simple, which, yeah, it could be more grand and stuff. We're used to grand stories in our Legend of Zelda games, but this was Nintendo's first attempt at a big open world game, Legend of Zelda open world game like this. So for a first attempt, I don't think it's bad. Not bad at all. They really dropped the ball with Tears of the Kingdom for that game's story. Anyway, I'm not going to get into Tears of the Kingdom right now, but I do appreciate the story for what it is. I do like that Ganon doesn't have like a human form, you know, in the first game and anything like that, that he's just sort of unimaginable monster, because wherever the heck this like game takes place in the timeline, what is the Zelda timeline anymore? You don't know, I don't know, Nintendo doesn't even know. Nobody knows when this game takes place, and you know what? That's okay. Just as its own self-contained story for Breath of the Wild, I think it's good. Not great, but it definitely gets a pass. The kind of ambiguity of it all, like, what are the Sheikah? Where did they come from? How did they get this technology? Where did Ganon come from? Really helps this game, and sort of like other open world games. I'm gonna use it again as an example, like Minecraft, where the story, there is a story there, but it's so ambiguous because it's left up to the player to decide what's for themselves. Like, heck, remember all the theories and stuff surrounding who were the Zonai, what were the Zonai ruins and stuff like that in Breath of the Wild, all the theories about that before Tears of the Kingdom came out. It was fun. I like the ambiguity because it gives room to, like, people to talk and discuss as to what they think happened, and getting people talking is definitely the best way to keep a game's community alive. Now, I honestly don't have too many criticisms for this game. Again, it's just shocked that this game runs so well on, like, basically a toaster that is the Nintendo Switch. Especially mine, absolute launch model that is, like, probably falling apart, might die any minute, which would not be good because I'd lose my Animal Crossing island that I have so many hours in. Anyway, so some of the graphics can look a little spotty, especially now going back and looking at it. I mean, it is a 7-year-old game already, which is very hard to believe. Anyway, this was supposed to be a 7th anniversary video, but it got, like, super delayed. Life's busy. Anyway, so, yeah, graphics could be a little better, but again, going to the art style, I just think it looks fantastic. And I'm only pointing it out because that's something that other people have pointed out. The story could be better. It could definitely be improved. Add some more cutscenes. Let us see more what Hyrule was like. I feel like we barely got any time with the characters of the champions because, you know, they're already dead. And that was 100 years ago. Maybe don't have it be 100 years ago, but then that wouldn't fit in with the open world. I don't know. Add some more cutscenes of, like, there's already tons of Link regaining his memories and stuff like that. It would just be nice to find some way to connect us with those characters more, you know, to, like, get into, like, their tragic deaths and everything. Did you know that in, like, the Divine Beasts, like, theme song, you can hear, like, SOS in Morse code? Do yourself a favor and Google that. I didn't know that. It's really cool. Just look up somebody else's video on it. I am not smart enough to do something like that. Anyway, so yeah. Graphics, story, could be a little better, but honestly, I can't think of anything else to complain about for this game. It's just a near perfect experience that you are going to enjoy no matter who you are, no matter what types of games you play. I'm gonna recommend Breath of the Wild because it's just for everyone. I guarantee that like 99% of people, if they've never touched one of them Zeldas or Nintendo games before, sit down with this game, they'll have an absolute blast if they take the time to like learn the controls and everything. You know, like some people don't like learning controls, and that can turn them off a new game. Anyway, that's kind of off topic, but yeah. So anyway, that's about it. Bit of a longer video. Sorry for the delay in between videos. I've been working on this with life being busy and stuff like that. So I hope everybody loves this game as much as I do. Thank you all for watching / listening to this. Should I make more videos on Nintendo games? Because you better believe me, I'll delve deep into Animal Crossing, Mario Odyssey, Tears of the Kingdom. I already am planning on making a Tears of the Kingdom video, don't worry. But let me know what you guys think of this. Are we liking the longer videos or not? Kind of like, I like to try to make my videos with like some visuals and stuff like that, but something you could pop on and listen to in the background if you want. Anyway, here I go. Again, just rambling on at the end of the video for another minute or something. I promise I'm not trying to reach a watch time or anything. But anyway, that's about it. This game is fantastic. 10 out of 10. If you haven't played this game, what are you doing? Go play it. If you haven't played a Legend of Zelda game, this is also a great, like, entryway game. A great first Zelda game to play. Highly recommend it. Thank you all for watching. See you in the next video. Have a great rest of your day wherever you may be. Bye.